Okay, so to remove these clips, you need to, there's a little tab, and it's bent towards the driver's side. Use a pair of needle nose pliers by putting it on that tab and against the edge, and pull. It's hard for me to grab it. Pull the grab and lift it up. And then this one I did already before. So once you remove the clip, use your needle nose pliers and carefully remove. You'll see that the metal kind of embeds, it sticks itself to the rubber, and just gently remove it. It'll get loose. Take it out, put the clips aside, and now you'll be able to separate. Now you'll be able to separate this line from this hose. For this piece right here that connects to the plastic housing, just simply pull and twist this along, and it'll slide right out eventually. I loosened it up, and I'm just going to pull, and it came right out. Done. Now I can separate these two. And this also gives me some more room to unlatch the clamps around each of the individual throttle bodies. To remove the starter cable bracket, you can see there's an opening there. This piece goes against the airbox, and where my finger is, my middle finger is, that's where the starter cable goes through. What I did was I took a socket wrench, okay, and I slid it down there, and I used the bottom of the wrench to kind of kick up the starter cable bracket, and you hit it a couple of times and it'll pop off, it'll slide off. If you're worried about hitting the body of the car, this is plastic over here. This is all plastic. It's not any metal surfaces. So just wedge the socket in there, and then kind of kick it up and over. And just be careful at the end. You don't want to drop the plastic piece because it might fall down. And that's it. Now that it's loose, you can kind of move it out of the way and work on removing the other parts of the box that are holding it. So I tell you, this piece is actually really hard to get to. It's the last nut that holds the V bracket that holds the plenum in. I used a 10mm open socket wrench to get underneath here, and I'm blocking all the light. But just try to work your hand underneath there, loosen it up, it'll go. It's just really hard. Be careful of the SMG cable that's over there. What I did do is I disconnected this hose, or this adapter, from the main unit that we pulled down earlier. That's attached to the airbox. Here's that big rubber fitting. I unplugged. It's really hard to see. There you go. I unplugged this to get some, so I can move this out of the way, so I can get some more room for my arm. And then I'm using the wrench to loosen that nut. Now that it's loose, I'll use my hand and I'll loosen it all the way, and then I should have some more room on wiggle room to remove this airbox. For me, one of the last pieces of the puzzle was to get this bottom hose off, and it's a bit challenging because of the tight space and the angle your hand has to go in. It's a quick release hose. You squeeze on both sides. Now that I was able to loosen the box up a bit, I picked it up and I was able to get a little bit more leverage, squeezed it and pulled it through. So that one's done, and I believe the only one left is the one that's connected on the inside of the opening. So I'm going to work on getting that. When it comes time to try to loosen the airbox, once you've removed as much as you can, I still have not been able to remove this hose down on the bottom, but I'm just trying to loosen the box. So you'll see once you've loosened all the clamps, you'll think you're at the home straight, but then you try to move the box and realize it doesn't move at all. So what I did was, see if I can capture this on video. Okay. I used my left hand to grab the box, put my hand on the inside of the opening, and I just pulled. Pull, 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 pick it up, move it down, pick it up, move it down, pull, pull, pull. Eventually you loosen it, and as you can see, I've got a couple of the pieces off here. So if you keep at it, the back is the only piece that's stuck now, and now it's loose. So I still didn't remove there's a hose in the middle, I'm sorry, there's an oil return on the bottom that I didn't get yet. There we go, all the way down in the back. So I'll try to work on that next, but I think it should be easier to get to now that I've loosened the box. I never thought I'd see the day I got the airbox out. This piece right there, I can't see. Anyway, there's the hose that connects to the bottom of the airbox. It's like an oil return line. Anyway, that actually just popped out. I don't know how, but it did. And I wiggled the airbox out from the, pulling it out from the throttle bodies and then up through the front. And you just keep wiggling it. Make sure you loosen the this cable with this hose, this vacuum hose, around the back, and work it way out, and it'll come out. And then clean your engine bay, like I will. So I loosened the dipstick. In order to get to the dipstick bolt, I think it's a 10 millimeter open-ended wrench. Because I have this SMG accumulator in my way, I couldn't get to it. So I went underneath the car. If you put your hand below the control arm, you can actually grab it and loosen it up. So I've loosened up the dipstick, but it's attached by this. There's a cable here. There's a sensor wire here that's screwed into here. I'm going to try to pull that off. Once that's removed, then I can pull up the dipstick and bend it. So I'm using my trusty Schwaben trim removal set tool. And if you insert it, I guess you could use a screwdriver too, but I'm trying to be sensitive to not marring things. So insert it in between the one end of the dipstick adapter piece here, and just wedge it out one piece at a time. And there we go, and it comes off. Now that that's out, I can move it out of the way. Don't forget to install it later. And I can slide out the... Oh, there's an O-ring there. And there's motor oil. And now the dipstick is out. So I finally got the dipstick bent out of the way. And if I get my other flashlight here, I'll illustrate where it's at. The dipstick, as you can see, is right close to the strut tower brace. And right over there. I haven't test fitted the box yet, but my next step is to route the SMG expansion tank, where it's going to sit, around the dipstick tube and into the reservoir, the pump over here. Pull this plug out and then plug it into where the red spot is. Right before I put the SMG tank in, I want to make sure I tighten up the ballast here for the xenon. Make sure you put the two 10 millimeter bolts back in. Make sure you tighten this bolt that's over there. There's probably going to be a gap because the stock airbox attaches to over here on the body of the car. Tighten the nut, or the bolt rather, as tight as you can, and then proceed to put the cover back over over the housing. Moment of genius, in my eyes. I spent about 35 minutes futzing with this box, trying to get the boots onto the throttle bodies. And the back seemed to not fully catch on to the throttle body. The front I would eventually get on, but it would require a lot of pressure, a lot of pushing. There's not a lot of room in the back to get pressure onto that throttle body. So it dawned on me, why don't I try some kind of lubricant? I didn't want to use motor oil. I didn't know if it was going to be detrimental to the rubber. So I said, hey, I'm Italian, use some olive oil, right? When in Rome. So I put a little bit in a dish, put it in a little bit in on a glove, and I applied it a light coating onto the throttle body itself, all around on all 6 cylinders. And then I put a little bit of olive oil on the inside of the rubber boots. And the key is not to get the front throttle body boot over first. Get the back first. Work the back. And I ended up leaning on the car with my feet against the wall and pushing on both the upper corner and inside in the box, without disturbing the air horns, pushing against the back wall closest to each of the air horn bases, if you will, and it should slide right on. Once it's on, it's very easy to get the front in, and then that's it. To close the clamps, it's a mouthful, you need to grab the edge and the other edge and pull so that where the top piece of the clamp runs right over that smaller little divot. Okay, next on the install, you want to make sure that there's a hose in the back here. You want to push it against there's a little holder. It looks like that at the edge of the box. Just press and make sure that it's connected. Next up, I'm going to put the crankcase vent hose back onto the car. One on the other side over here. and then this is going to clip into there. This little hose will go into there, and then make sure you plug in the adapter. Once you put the vent hoses back on the top of the airbox, don't forget to attach, there's a large air hose down here. Here's the part of the airbox, and here is the hose that connects to that. So snap that on, and then move on to the next part. Make sure you use a 10mm wrench to attach the two nuts that connect the box to the base bracket. There's a little rubber attachment, a little foot on the bottom of the airbox. It should connect to the base. There's a little V-base. Next, I'm going to put the filter in the filter housing itself. And that's done by wedging it inside with two hands, not holding the camera. The key to getting this filter in is to squeeze the edges in first, put in that edge, then put in that edge, and then use your thumb and push in the plastic piece all around. To install the air shutoff valve, you need to grab this rubber grommet from over here, take it out, put it on the hose, and then fit it underneath through there, and work your way in. Okay. Turn it around. There we go. So that piece connects eventually, and this piece connects to there. And don't forget to attach the adapter. When you fill up the reservoir tank with SMG fluid, make sure you tap and work the fluid in the housing. You want to make sure that you get all the air out of the line, and so as you're pouring the fluid in, get it to a certain level, stop, pick up the tank if you can, and shake it, move it around a little bit, rotate it around so that you make sure the oil goes down the tube and to the rest of the pump. You want to make sure that there's no air and that there's actually fluid in the line. Next, we're going to put the cowl back onto the car, slide it in just like you took it out before. You're going to route the starter jumper cable underneath here through this housing right here, and then use the 4 Torx 30 or T30 screws to attach it back to the car. I'm going to run this cable through this housing and then clip it through. And that's it. And there's another piece. Once you find the little plastic clip here, the door, if you will, just run the cables through the middle and then attach. Now is a good time to also replace the cabin filter while you're in there. And now we'll attach the top piece, make sure it's in, and then push the spring clips in.